you doing? It's Ken Miller here for the Hall of Fame podcast. We're going to talk to Uncle Richie today, and I think we're going to talk about driver wellness. It's a charity that he has been involved with for quite some time, and I'm looking forward for him to share that because I think some of the biggest things facing our drivers today is health. And because you drive in a truck, you live in a truck, you eat in a truck, and where you eat in some of those places are probably some of the worst places to eat. It's like going to a Circle K gas station and getting food. If you can imagine what that's like, that's what the driver meals look like, because there's so many roads they can't drive. So when they get off a highway, they kind of funneled into what is truly just purely fast food, which is horrible for you. And when you think about a driver spending 10, 11, 12 hours in a truck between driving and at docks, then by then, their guys are pretty tired. They get fast food and they go to sleep. Think about that and what their weight looks like, what their BMI is like, and some of those things. So I'm going to let him talk about that. This is very near and dear to my heart. So I'm going to let him introduce himself, and he can go from there. Again, Ken Miller, One Truck America. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Richie Krabari, and I've been in the industry over 50 years, and I've always concentrated on health. In fact, early in my days, I ran marathons. I ran four Chicago marathons and, probably about 60 different races. So health has always been I've been very conscious of it. And when I first got into trucking industry, it was probably, I got in with a small truck, and then I went in as a partner, and I built it with my team from 8 trucks to 170 trucks. And it was in a rural area in central Illinois. And really, I started seeing the difference, with the truck drivers and, how obese. And then I start studying more about it. And their obese level is quite a bit higher than a regular person. And I believe it's about over 500,000 have diabetes. So that's what you have on the road. And Ken did an excellent job of highlighting the type of food that they have in the truck stops and the different places. And, the salt content, the sugar and everything. And believe me, it's it's a detriment on all of us, because again, they're on the road. Yeah. And that's why I'm trying to work with a couple of companies for food to supply them better meals and have access to these meals.
Yeah. So, no, let me tell you that I 100% agree. Now, as a whole, our population has gotten very overweight, but drivers is exponentially worse. It is to the point where, I don't know if I'm going to give you there's a comparison how bad it's gotten. You do know now that even to go into the Army, they now have a fat camp. So they'll sign you up if you're overweight, and then they put you through a 45 days fat camp before you go to basic training, just to get them through it. And drivers, it's 10 times worse, because I actually stopped. This is before we're going to do this episode. Before I stopped at 2 truck stops and just went in and see what did they have to eat. And I couldn't even find a salad in any of them. I could find hot dogs, burgers, this. And then I went and looked for sugar-free drinks. They had them, and they were all in one fridge. And then there were 19 other fridges with your Pepsi, your Coke, and I'm not bashing either one specifically, just sugary drinks. I think it comes to a point that we have to do something, because my biggest worry is when I looked at the amount of drivers that I had when I ran my own drivers that had sleep apnea, it was crazy. And if you know anything about sleep apnea, you can fall asleep driving down the road, and you don't want an 80,000-pound truck behind you and your loved ones, because that becomes a very dangerous situation. But go ahead.
No, Ken, exactly. Not enough is said about this, about sleep apnea. I learned a long time ago because I was in the Air Force and I was in Strategic Air Command. Our commander was Curtis LeMay, and we had to achieve certain standards every month. And, nutrition and everything became part of this that I carried on into my life. I'm approaching 82 years old. You know, a lot of people think I'm in my 60s.
You look in your 60s to me.
Yeah, I work full time, and on the spare time, I try to work with drivers. I have them call me. They confide in me. I try to tell them the right things to do, and to stay away from the salts and sugars. When they go to their yearly physical, find out about their metabolic panel and make sure, because see, I make sure everything that I have is in line. And if by doing that, you're going to be in good health. So, the emphasis has to be, covering the loads mean an awful lot. Okay. That's our bread and butter, but you want to make sure that you're there for the next load and the load after that. You gotta have pride in yourself. Like I take pride, and that's good when people give me a compliment, because that's my reward of working hard.
Yeah.
And, achieving things.
Well, you have a group, I'll give you a great example. You're in the Air Force. Thank you for your service. I was in the Army.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that, thank you, sir. I can tell you that structured environment forced you to stay in shape, because no matter what you ate, you're going to get up in the morning, so in the Army, and you're going to run 4 or 5 miles. Okay. Not that there were push-ups, sit-ups, the rest of the things we do. So I think some people are not motivated themselves to do those things. And if we want the driving force, the average age now is 49, to be healthier, I think we have to have a different approach that helps them do that. And I don't know what the right answer is, but I know you have a lot more experience than me in that. There has to be something that we do. We have to change the foods at truck stops, or get them to want to. And the reason, listen, I don't blame a truck stop. I asked one of the guys at the truck stop, this is when we were going to film 2 months ago, well, why don't you carry this? They said no one buys it. So it starts with educating the driver to want to buy it, because they're going to put a salad out and it spoils and no one buys it, then they're not going to put it out again. So that's part of the issue. And then the other part is on the companies wanting to buy in to help the driver. It says, hey, you're at a receiver. When you go to receivers, if it's not a drop and hook, for our people that are not in trucking, drop hook, because you leave the trailer, bring a loaded trailer, pick up an empty trailer, leave. A live load is you back it into the dock, and you normally have 2 hours. It says, hey, you have 2 hours. They're pretty lenient there. Why don't you walk around the building 5 times and get in 2,000 steps? But the fleet manager, I think, needs to start to push that, because that, you for 2 hours, don't just sit in your truck and eat a cookie. Let's walk around the building and things of that nature. So I think that's what your charity is trying to do. So I'd like you to give me some solutions that you think could help from the trucking side, pushing the driver, because not every driver is you with an Air Force background, self-motivated, want to do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. You hit it. Just like about 2,300 steps is a mile, and that's what I try to instill in people. This thing. You took part of my.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm just joking, but take a walk around, because again, people don't want you on the docks anymore. You got some free time. You got a couple hours. Do something. Do some. Touch your toes a few times. the older ones, they got a silver sneakers that you could get involved with, and then they have all different kind of exercises. Some are low impact, some are a little more progression, medium, and you could work your way up. And it's on the internet. It's silver sneakers for people that are a little older. Also, when I go shopping in the grocery store and I see somebody obese or whatever, behind the counter working, I'll also suggest to them. And that's why I started Uncle Richie Wellness, because I think it applies to everybody. But my main focus has been, what I'm working with is the truck drivers. And I'm trying to work through Illinois trucking right now. And, as Ken knows, I have contacts all throughout the country. And I'm going to try, get a little more involved with the national, and Ken, has contacts all across the country. Mike Burt from C&K,
Yes.
who's a dear friend, and they're involved with IANA. We just can't leave this just in one place or one communication or whatever. We got to get more people to buy into it. I think that's the main thing.
No, I agree. And I think, hey, one other thing I want to hit on before we close, we're not closing for a while, but is also, do you have a way that people could donate to Uncle Richie? Do you have a go? And we'll list it on the podcast. I just want to make sure that we may have listeners that come on that want to help with the supply, help fund some of this, or trucking companies, because I take the podcast when it comes out and I send it to some trucking companies so they can send it out to their employees. So if you have anything like that, you can say it at the end of the podcast, and also give us the link, and we'll try to put the link into the post. Okay.
Okay. It's also Manuel put it on one truck. I believe he put it on the Lincoln Inn.
He did. Okay.
But anyway, I'll give it. It's very easy. I'll give the information when you tell me the time.
Yeah, I'll let you at the end before you close out. Just say it, and then we'll add the link, because I think this is important. So, all right, keep going. What other initiatives you got?
What other issues?
Initiatives. Well, we think so. We think about there's some ways to affect this. One, driver education. I think 2, truck stop education. 3, companies who understand this deciding to make it an initiative to talk to the drivers. But not everyone's going to do it. But you think about it, if you're managing 30 drivers, okay, and then you look at your drivers, okay, this guy's had a live load, and he says, hey, buddy, you're going to be there. These people are normally detained. You're there for 2.5 hours. Why don't you walk? The guy says, well, here's the first thing you get. They won't let me walk in the facility. No problem. Walk right out the gate, leave your truck, and go down the road and knock out a mile and come back and send me a picture of your steps. I think it's going to take that kind of initiative. And I think if you get from the ITA, and it's just for people that are not in trucking, the ITA is the Illinois Trucking Association, which has an executive full board members. Mike is still there, and they can get us to the ATA, which is America's Trucking Association, which covers every state. If they get behind this, that'd be great. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, Mike is an active member, and also Kevin Lotak also, he's involved in all the different programs, because see, what we need a bunch of Uncle Richies out there. We got to get more people involved, and because there's an art to this. You just don't say, hey, go ahead and do this, and you got to walk up gently to a guy, and you got to talk them, and you got to have the right approach, the right tone. Hey, I care about you. I want to see you become a better employee, but I also want to see you you'll be a better husband. You'll be a better family member and things like that. You're going to live longer. You want to be like me at my age. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You have to instill this in people. You just don't say, be real rough about it. No,
Yeah.
because
You don't.
they're embarrassed as it is. Okay, nobody wants it like that.
100%. And the thing that's happening even more so, even there's a bigger thing for the people on the extreme obese side. They're having problems passing the physical and staying as a driver. So now your livelihood is going away because you can't ever pass that physical, So that even becomes a bigger issue that we definitely have to get our hands around. If we want to, I think, and I covered this in another podcast, people get into this bubble, even outside of our industry, to believe that when you walk into whatever your shopping choice is, Costco, Jewel, you name it, that stuff is made there. It's not. You walk to Home Depot, that stuff's not made there. It's not. Everything in your house, everything you buy, got to where you purchased it from or to your house on a truck. Okay. And I think America doesn't quite understand it. You do. I do. It's a small segment of America. This is how important. That's why these truck drivers, you needed them to drive during COVID. No one else could go to work. But they said the truck drivers, you got to go to work. You know why? You wouldn't have any water. You wouldn't have any toilet paper. You wouldn't have any chicken. You wouldn't have anything. Okay. So people don't realize that every truck driver got a letter that you could drive. When they said you couldn't drive on the roads, truck drivers could have a letter that state they could drive to work because you can't stop commerce, or you won't have, unless you have one of those military guys with a basement for 3 months worth of food, you'll be out of food. Most people are out of food in 3 days. That's how much food you keep in your house. So I think this is important, and I definitely think we need to push it. So.
Yeah, I agree, Ken. That's an excellent point, and I really believe we have to instill in people, and that's where these different organizations have to help out, and let's instill in this. Because I remember years ago, when we had a truck driver, they were treated a lot differently than they are today.
Mm-hmm.
We had elders in our church were truck drivers, and they'd have a suit and tie on, or they'd help somebody if they were disabled. Was disabled, they would change a tire and do different things. But you don't see that anymore. Without a truck driver, our whole commerce would shut down, and that's why we need to, like Ken mentioned, we need to do something about it.
I agree. Well, okay. Let's wrap this up. Let's talk about, as we close, and we're also going to link it. Let's talk about the link to how does someone donate to Uncle Richie? We'll also post it. You just want us? Is there a link? Do you want us to just post it? How do you want to do that?
Okay, you could post it, but I will give it to you. It's Uncle Richie Wellness, and that's Richie, Richie, Wellness Incorporated, 13940 Hobart Street, Hobart Street, and that's Cedar Lake, Indiana, 2 separate words, 46303. Cedar, Cedar, Lake, Lake, and Indiana, 46303.
All right, we'll also post that. Well, okay. Well, thank you for this insight. Don't go anywhere. We have something else to do after this. But thank you for that insight. And I think this episode is going to reach a lot of people, and I'm going to try to get it out to a lot of trucking companies to see how much buy-in we can get behind this Uncle Richie Wellness, because I think it's just a great product and an amazing cause. So thank you.
Thank you.
And have a good day from the Hall of Fame.
Thanks again for your service.